The Seraph Dominion fleet drifted at the edge of a quiet system, its formation precise as a constellation carved by command. 300 vessels shimmered in disciplined alignment, their hulls gleaming under the faint light of a dying star. They were not explorers. They were the wardens of order. For centuries, no unknown signal had ever dared trespass into their patrol sectors. When the sensors first whispered of an unscheduled translation through slip space, the bridge of the flagship Crown of Vera fell silent. Commander Vale Wren stood before the tactical display, his crest feathers motionless, eyes narrowing as a distortion resolved. A single contact. Small, crude design by Dominion standards, yet the gravitational ripple it left behind was far larger than its mass should allow. The analyst confirmed the impossible signature. Human. The Dominion had files on the species. Young, aggressive, technologically uneven, confined to their small region of the Orion Arm. Their ships were messy amalgams of alloys and chemistry, their strategies driven by instinct more than elegance. They were known, occasionally admired for stubborn courage, but never feared. Until now, the contact's engine wake carried frequencies that hinted at reactor cycles far beyond known human capacity. Valerin ordered long-range magnification. The image stabilized. A vessel emerged from the darkness, slow, deliberate, scarred by countless impacts. Its hull plating was a patchwork of burns and dents, matte gray with streaks of reentry scoring. Across its flank, foreign markings glowed faintly, rows of names etched deep into the metal, each highlighted by a soft internal luminescence. The alien officers murmured. Names on a warship? Waste of surface space, one said. But the words translated. They were identifiers, perhaps memorials. The vessel drifted without transmission. No IFF beacon, no greeting, no weapon targeting signatures. It simply hovered, its bow angled toward the Dominion fleet as though observing. The scanners reported minute energy fluctuations along its frame, faint but rhythmic like a heartbeat. The communications officer attempted contact on standard diplomatic channels. Static replied. Another attempt used encoded Dominion frequencies. The static returned, except for a brief pulse pattern buried within it. Analysts mapped it, the same length as a human breathing cycle. Coincidence? Perhaps, but the sound filled the bridge speakers with an uncanny presence, as though something vast exhaled in the void. Valerin ordered full spectral analysis. The data revealed contradictions. The ship's alloy composition resembled iron and carbon composites centuries outdated. Yet beneath that crude skin lay reactor temperatures that defied containment theory. Its armor emitted residual radiation signatures from weapon types no longer in use anywhere in the galaxy. The flagship science officer concluded that the readings must be false, some interference artifact. The commander wasn't so sure. Hours passed. The Dominion fleet maintained distance. Probes launched toward the object disintegrated without visible impact. Their telemetry froze the instant they crossed a 10-kilometer perimeter, vanishing from sensors entirely. The loss unsettled the crew. Something about the human vessel distorted the local space fabric. A meeting of senior officers convened. Arguments rose across the table. Destroy it, board it, or retreat and observe. Valerin listened. Every tactical precedent demanded aggression against unregistered intruders. But instinct urged restraint. The ship's silence was not ignorance. It was composure. He had seen predators act this way. Stillness masking readiness. Finally, he authorized a limited boarding mission. 2 shuttles departed, loaded with elite recon marines and scanning drones. The fleet watched as a small craft glided toward the massive silhouette. Distance closed. The shuttles reported increasing electromagnetic interference. Then the feed fractured into static snow. A moment later, one camera flickered back for a single frame. It showed a stretch of gray hull engraved with lettering. Translation subroutines rendered it Vigilant Dawn. The next instant, both shuttles vanished from detection. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. Emergency chatter filled the command net. Valerin demanded signal recovery. None. The region around the human ship now shimmered faintly, as if a thin haze of distortion cloaked it. Sensors couldn't penetrate it. For the first time, someone on the bridge whispered a word that had been forbidden in Dominion doctrine: haunted. The fleet adjusted formation, bringing weapon arrays online. Hundreds of guns oriented toward the silent intruder. Even at that range, the human ship dwarfed the readouts of energy absorption. Its system seemed asleep, yet impossibly alert. When the targeting lasers touched its hull, the beams refracted away, dispersing into harmless light. On the second day of standoff, Dominion analysts decrypted fragmentary emissions leaking from the ship's communication relays. Not active messages, records. They were automatic telemetry bursts, repeating loops of old human transmissions dating back centuries. Voices speaking in archaic tongues, battle reports, distress signals, and songs. One transmission chilled the translators, a soldier's voice saying calmly, "We held the line. We always hold the line." The Dominion had never encountered warfare so personal. Their conflicts were calculated equations, casualty projections, sterile. But here was a species that celebrated endurance as religion. The bridge officers played more fragments. Each recording painted the same picture: loss, rebuilding, refusal to yield. Even the lowest rank spoke of defiance, not as strategy, but as identity. Valerin began to wonder whether the ship's presence was deliberate demonstration, a message sent into foreign space to test reactions. Yet how could a single vessel dare such risk against an entire fleet, unless it believed it could survive? At the 30th hour, proximity alarm screamed. The human warship moved. Slowly at first, barely perceptible thrusters igniting in dull blue arcs. The Dominion formation shifted defensively. The Vigilant Dawn rotated its massive hull until its forward edge faced directly toward the flagship. Then it stopped again, motionless. The action felt intentional, like a challenge or an acknowledgement. The bridge lights dimmed as power fluctuated from nearby energy surges. Dominion technicians confirmed the readings. The ship's reactor output was climbing, not exponentially but methodically, as though waking from a long sleep. No weapon systems were visible, yet radiation levels implied a charge sequence of terrifying scale. A desperate attempt at communication followed. "Unknown human vessel," the translator intoned. "Identify your purpose within Dominion space." The message repeated across multiple bands. Silence answered. Then, for the first time, the human ship transmitted. It was not language but tone, an audio resonance that trembled through hull plating, low enough to feel more than hear. Across the fleet, crew members paused, glancing around as if the sound emanated from inside their skulls. Moments later, text scrolled across every Dominion monitor simultaneously, overriding encryption. The characters translated automatically into plain script. Designation: Vigilant Dawn. Status: still standing. The words froze everyone in place. No threats, no demands, just declaration of existence. The Dominion fleet drifted at a measured distance, hulls humming softly as their engines adjusted for constant readiness. The Vigilant Dawn had not moved since the last encounter, yet every instrument aboard the fleet ships reported subtle shifts in local space-time, minor distortions that defied calculation. Analysts struggled to quantify what they observed. Energy fields registered within plausible physical limits, but sensor readings suggested impossible stability. Every attempt to probe or communicate only returned fragments of static, and yet these fragments carried an odd rhythm. It was deliberate, patterned, almost like breathing. Dominion officers whispered comparisons to living beings. That the ship was alive in some unusual sense became a topic no one dared formalize. Commander Valerin convened his senior staff. Reports were fragmented, with each new sensor reading challenging the fleet's understanding of reality. One officer suggested a preemptive strike. Another warned that any aggression might provoke catastrophic reaction. Valerin remained silent, studying the small but imposing silhouette on their displays. There was no threat yet, and yet the weight of history pressed against him. He ordered all scanning halted, for fear of provoking a response that might not be survivable. Meanwhile, analysts began piecing together the fragment of information they had gleaned from earlier subspace emissions. Small bursts of residual signals, repeating at irregular intervals, contained snippets of human transmissions dating back centuries. Battle logs, emergency broadcasts, and encrypted tactical recordings from centuries-long wars flickered to the Dominion's translation software. The content was unsettling. Humans spoke of endurance, of refusing to yield, of victories carved from loss. Each transmission bore a calm determination that contradicted the chaos the Dominion expected from a young species. One transmission described a planetary defense sustained against overwhelming odds. City after city had been razed, yet the population continued to rebuild with relentless determination. Another related naval engagement that spanned decades, fleets lost and replaced in cycles, none of it dramatized or glorified, merely recorded as fact. The analysts realized that these ships were not merely vessels of war. They were extensions of human memory, repositories of experience, each carrying fragments of civilizations that had survived annihilation multiple times. The Dominion fleet began to feel the weight of unfamiliar emotion. Fear, yes, but also a creeping respect, tinged with awe. Their war doctrine was built upon absolute calculation, dominance measured in efficiency and destruction. Here was a species whose measure of strength was not dominance but perseverance. The idea unsettled officers more than any weapon could. Attempt at direct communication resumed under Vale-Rin's strict orders. The same sterile protocols were used. Formal, neutral language, open channels, clear identification. Responses came not in words, but in static again, punctuated by sequences that translated into minimalistic instructions. Numbers, names, timestamps. Analysts concluded that the vessel transmitted its history, broadcasting the names of battles fought, soldiers lost, victories gained. The list extended to thousands, then tens of thousands, forming a record so extensive it overwhelmed Dominion memory cores. Every new data point revealed more than raw numbers. The transmissions carried emotional undertones. Analysts reported elevated stress readings across consoles, minor tremors in voice modules, even minor headaches among the technical crew. It was as if the ship's signal reached into minds, encoding the intensity of human experience in ways the Dominion did not understand. The concept of psychological endurance in war had never been quantifiable, yet here it was being broadcast with precision. Vale-Rin ordered a full review of the ship's physical and electronic characteristics. The Vigilant Dawn's hull showed signs of countless engagements, pockmarks from energy beams, scars from collisions, heat damage from atmospheric entries, and countless repair patches. Yet despite the damage, its structure remained stable. Every scan confirmed that its armor had undergone repeated punishment far exceeding standard human tolerances. Dominion engineers could not reconcile the apparent age of the vessel with its operational integrity. At the same time, the human vessel remained silent in terms of movement. Its orientation shifted occasionally, almost imperceptibly, as if surveying the fleet. Dominion tactics officers attempted to plot its potential attack vectors, yet the data returned anomalies. Predictive models failed, leaving the fleet's command unsure how to respond if aggression occurred. The Vigilant Dawn had introduced an element of uncertainty unprecedented in Dominion engagements. Hours into this tense observation, the first breakthrough came. Residual signals, previously unintelligible, resolved into coherent audio fragments. The voices were human, calm and measured. One spoke of a defensive engagement centuries prior. We held our ground. We never surrendered. Another recorded a post-battle log. Losses are counted, but we endure. This is our method of survival. Analysts began to recognize a pattern. The ship broadcasted not threats, not demands, but philosophy encoded as historical record. The vessel's presence was both warning and teaching. The psychological effect on the Dominion fleet intensified. Officers reported unease when watching the human warship. One lieutenant commented that the vessel seemed to observe them as much as they observed it. Instruments occasionally flickered when readings crossed a certain threshold. Some engineers suggested it was deliberate interference. Vale-Rin did not respond, only noting the correlation and adjusting fleet formation accordingly. Days passed. The Dominion fleet remained in orbit around the system, unwilling to approach closer. Shuttles dispatched for recon vanished without trace, no debris, no signals. Each loss increased caution. Communications officers debated whether the vessel possessed advanced cloaking or a method of defensive disappearance. But the truth was simpler. It did not react to pursuit in conventional ways. It existed as a sentinel, patient and unyielding. Vale Rin ordered a simulation exercise to prepare for potential escalation. Dominion weapons targeted the vessel in repeated test runs. Every simulated strike failed to register. Projected impact vectors dissipated as though the ship absorbed or redirected energy in a manner no theoretical model could explain. Engineers called it impossible. The commander's assessment remained cautious. The Vigilant Dawn's capabilities were not yet understood. Attempts at subtle intimidation followed. The fleet powered up its weapons in sequence, maintaining visible displays. The human ship responded minimally, its lights pulsing along the hull in calm, steady patterns. The Dominion took it as acknowledgement rather than aggression. Analysts debated the meaning. Some suggested that the vessel's displays were coded messages. Others insisted it was nothing more than mechanical light. Vale Rin deferred judgment. Subspace scans detected slight ripples when the fleet moved. Analysts noted these disturbances did not resemble weapon emissions, but were consistent with energy signatures designed to probe systems.